The moment my wife Lisa said those words, "Michael, my best friend is joining us for Christmas dinner. Be mature about it," I knew this Christmas would be different. What she didn't know was that I had already sent a very special invitation of my own. Let me back up a bit. My name is Michael Thompson, and I'm a 39-year-old IT support specialist for a mid-sized insurance company in suburban Hartford, Connecticut. Not exactly the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills and keeps me sharp with technology, skills that would prove invaluable in the coming weeks. My wife Lisa works as an advertising executive at a boutique marketing firm downtown. She's beautiful, successful, and has this way of making everyone in a room feel like they're the most important person there. It's what drew me to her 6 years ago at a mutual friend's wedding, and it's also what makes her so damn good at her job. But there's one thing about Lisa that's been eating at me for months: her relationship with Alex Morrison. Alex is Lisa's best friend, emphasis on the air quotes. They dated in college for 2 years before she moved to Connecticut, and he stayed in Boston to start his tech company. According to Lisa, they're just friends now. Really good friends. The kind of friends who text each other every single day. The kind of friends who meet for coffee every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. sharp. The kind of friends who have inside jokes that predate our marriage by a decade. He's like a brother to me, Lisa always says when I bring up how uncomfortable their relationship makes me feel. You're being paranoid, Michael. We're just friends. But brothers don't send good morning texts every day at 6:15 a.m. Brothers don't call during our date nights to chat about their day. And brothers definitely don't make my wife's face light up the way Alex's name on her phone screen does. The breaking point came 3 weeks before Christmas. I was in our kitchen making coffee when Lisa's phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up with a text from Alex. "Missing you today. Can't wait for our Tuesday catch-up. You always know how to make me smile." I stared at that message for a full 30 seconds before Lisa came downstairs and quickly snatched her phone away. "Work stuff," she said, not meeting my eyes. "At 6 in the morning, on a Sunday?" Alex keeps weird hours with his business. I decided right then that I needed to know more about this friendship. So I did what any reasonable husband would do. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Over the next 2 weeks, I noticed things I'd been blind to before. The way Lisa's voice got softer when she talked to Alex on the phone. How she'd disappear into our bedroom for their conversations, claiming she needed quiet to concentrate. The fact that she'd started working late on Tuesdays, the same day as their coffee meetings, and would come home smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. But the real kicker came on December 20th, when Lisa made her announcement about Christmas dinner. We were decorating our tree, a 7-foot Fraser fir that I'd spent an hour picking out at the local lot, when she casually dropped the bomb. "Oh, by the way," she said, hanging a silver ornament on a high branch, "Alex is going to join us for Christmas dinner. I already told him yes, so please don't make this weird." I nearly dropped the string of lights I was untangling. "You invited Alex to Christmas dinner with our families?" "He doesn't have anywhere else to go. His parents are in Florida this year and he'd be all alone in Boston." "What about his girlfriend? Doesn't he have someone he could spend Christmas with?" Lisa paused, her hand frozen halfway to another ornament. "He's between relationships right now." That was interesting, because just 3 weeks earlier, Lisa had mentioned Alex's engagement to some woman named Sophie. I remembered because Lisa had seemed oddly upset about it, claiming she was just worried Alex was rushing into things. "I thought he was engaged," I said carefully. "That's complicated right now. Look, Michael, he's my oldest friend, and I'm not leaving him alone on Christmas. Can you please just be mature about this?" There was that word again. Mature. As if being uncomfortable with your wife's ex-boyfriend joining your family Christmas made you childish. "Of course," I said, forcing a smile. "The more the merrier." Lisa looked surprised. "Really? You're not going to fight me on this?" Nope. I think it's a great idea. What I didn't tell her was that I'd already started researching Alex Morrison's personal life. Amazing what you can find out about someone when you know their full name, where they work, and have basic internet skills. Alex Morrison, 37, founder and CEO of Morrison Digital Solutions in Boston. Graduated from UConn in 2008 with a degree in computer science. And most importantly, engaged to Sophie Chen, a 33-year-old marketing director at a pharmaceutical company. Engaged. Not between relationships, not, it's complicated. Engaged. I spent the next hour on Sophie's Instagram while Lisa finished decorating the tree. Sophie seemed lovely, smart, funny, with a great smile and what appeared to be a close relationship with Alex based on their photos together. Their engagement announcement from 6 months ago showed them hiking in New Hampshire, both grinning at the camera with her ring prominently displayed. So why was Lisa lying about Alex's relationship status? And why was an engaged man texting my wife about missing her? That night, after Lisa fell asleep, I made a decision that would change everything. I crafted a carefully worded message to Sophie Chen through Instagram. Hi Sophie, I hope this doesn't seem weird reaching out, but I'm Michael Thompson, married to Lisa. She and Alex have been friends since college. Lisa invited Alex to join us for Christmas dinner here in Hartford, and I thought it would be wonderful if you could come too. I'd love to meet the woman who captured Alex's heart. Let me know if you're interested. Dinner is at 2 p.m. on Christmas Day. I included our address and hit send before I could second-guess myself. Sophie responded within 2 hours. Hi, Michael. How thoughtful of you to invite me. I have to admit, I'm a bit surprised. Alex didn't mention he was going to Christmas dinner with friends. He told me he was spending Christmas alone because his parents were traveling. I'd absolutely love to join you. Thank you so much for including me. I stared at that message for a long time. Alex had lied to Sophie about his Christmas plans. He'd told her he was spending the day alone while making plans to have an intimate dinner with my wife and our families. This was about to get very interesting. The next few days passed in a blur of Christmas preparations and carefully concealed anticipation. Lisa was in an unusually good mood, humming Christmas carols while she cleaned the house and planned the menu for our dinner. She seemed genuinely excited about Alex's visit in a way that made my stomach churn. I'm thinking we should do prime rib this year, she said on December 22nd, scrolling through recipes on her laptop. Alex always loved my mom's prime rib recipe. Since when do you know what Alex likes for Christmas dinner? I asked. We've talked about family traditions before. He's mentioned how much he misses home-cooked holiday meals since his parents moved to Florida. I nodded and went back to wrapping presents, but my mind was racing. How many conversations had they had about family traditions and childhood memories? How deep did this friendship really go? That evening, while Lisa was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a text. I glanced over and saw Alex's name on the screen. Without really thinking about it, I picked up the phone. Can't wait for Christmas. It's been too long since we've had real time together. You have no idea how much I've missed this. My hands were shaking as I set the phone back down. Real time together? What the hell did that mean? When Lisa came out of the bathroom, I was sitting on our bed, trying to look casual. Alex texted, I said. She grabbed her phone quickly. Oh, probably just confirming the time. He said he's missed having real time together. What does that mean? Lisa's cheeks flushed pink. Michael, you're reading too much into a simple text. He just means he misses hanging out with old friends. Right. Old friends. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, while Lisa slept peacefully beside me. Tomorrow was December 23rd, and I still hadn't told her about Sophie. Part of me wondered if I should call the whole thing off, but then I remembered Alex's text and Lisa's reaction to it. No. They'd created this situation. Now they could deal with the consequences. Christmas Eve arrived with a fresh coating of snow and a house full of nervous energy. Lisa's parents, Joyce and Frank, arrived around noon, followed by my parents, Robert and Mary, an hour later. My brother Tom and his wife Janet showed up with their 2 kids, turning our usually quiet house into a chaotic but warm family gathering. "So who's this friend of Lisa's joining us tomorrow?" my mother asked while we were all in the kitchen preparing Christmas Eve dinner. "Alex Morrison," Lisa said, her voice bright. "He's one of my oldest friends from college. He's visiting from Boston." "How nice," Joyce said. "It's wonderful that you've stayed close with college friends. Is he married?" "Engaged," I said before Lisa could answer, "to a lovely woman named Sophie." Lisa shot me a look. "They're figuring things out." "What does that mean?" Tom asked, always one to push for details. "It means it's complicated and not really our business," Lisa said firmly. "Actually," I said, setting down the cranberry sauce I'd been stirring, "I thought it would be nice if Sophie joined us too. So Alex wouldn't be the only non-family member at dinner." The kitchen went completely silent. Lisa's face went white, then red, then white again. "You did what?" she whispered. "I invited Sophie. I thought you'd be happy. You're always saying how important it is to include everyone during the holidays." "Michael, can I speak with you privately?" We stepped into the hallway, leaving our confused families behind. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Lisa hissed. "I'm being a good host. You invited your friend, I invited his fiancé. What's the problem?" "The problem is that you should have discussed this with me first. Like you discussed inviting Alex with me? That's different." "How?" Lisa opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't explain how it was different without revealing something she clearly didn't want to reveal. "Does Alex know Sophie is coming?" she asked finally. "I assume Sophie told him. Why wouldn't she?" Lisa's hands were shaking. "This is going to be a disaster." "Why? If Alex and Sophie are happily engaged and you and Alex are just friends, what's the problem?" She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. "Fine," she said finally. "But if this ruins Christmas, it's on you." That night, I barely slept. Part of me felt guilty for orchestrating what was sure to be an uncomfortable situation. But a bigger part of me needed to know the truth about my wife's relationship with Alex Morrison. At 11 p.m., Lisa's phone buzzed. I watched her read the message, saw her face go pale, and watched her quickly type a response. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine. Just Alex confirming tomorrow's plans." But I could see her hands trembling as she set the phone down. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold. Lisa was up early, frantically cleaning the house and preparing food with an energy that seemed more nervous than festive. Our families exchanged gifts and shared breakfast, but there was an undercurrent of tension that everyone seemed to sense, but no one mentioned. At 1:30, Lisa was in the kitchen putting finishing touches on dinner when the doorbell rang. "That must be Alex," she said, smoothing her hair and checking her reflection in the microwave door. She practically ran to the front door, and I heard her voice brighten in a way it never did for anyone else. "Alex, I'm so glad you could make it." I walked to the entryway and saw them hugging, a long, intimate embrace that lasted several seconds too long for just friends. Alex Morrison was exactly what I'd expected: tall, handsome, successful looking, with the kind of easy confidence that comes from never having to worry about money. He was carrying a bottle of expensive wine and wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. "Michael," he said, extending his hand with a practiced smile. "Finally get to meet Lisa's husband. She talks about you all the time." I shook his hand, noting the firm grip and direct eye contact. "All good things, I hope." "Of course. Lisa's told me so much about your work in IT. Sounds fascinating." The way he said fascinating made it clear he found my job anything but. "Well, come in," Lisa said, taking Alex's coat. "Everyone's excited to meet you." "Actually," I said, "your fiancé should be here any minute." Alex's smile faltered. My what? Sophie. I invited her to join us. I thought she should be included. The color drained from Alex's face. You invited Sophie? Here? Of course. Why wouldn't I invite your fiancé to Christmas dinner? Lisa was staring at me with pure panic in her eyes. Michael, maybe we should… The doorbell rang again. I opened the door to find Sophie Chen standing on our porch, holding a beautiful poinsettia and wearing a warm smile. She was even prettier in person, petite, elegant, with intelligent eyes and an aura of genuine kindness. You must be Michael, she said. Thank you so much for inviting me. I brought flowers for your wife. Sophie, I said warmly, I'm so glad you could make it. Come in, come in. Sophie stepped into our entryway and immediately spotted Alex standing frozen by the coat closet. Alex? She said, her smile faltering slightly. What are you doing here? Lisa invited me for dinner. Sophie looked between Alex and Lisa, and I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. Lisa? Sophie said carefully. You must be the college friend Alex has mentioned. Yes, Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's so nice to finally meet you. Funny, Sophie said, her tone becoming cooler. Alex told me he was spending Christmas alone because he didn't have any plans. The silence that followed was deafening. Our families, who had gathered in the living room to meet our guests, were all staring at this unfolding drama with confused expressions. Well, I said cheerfully, now that everyone's here, why don't we move to the dining room? Dinner's ready. The dining room had never felt smaller. I'd set up our table with the good china and crystal glasses, creating what should have been a beautiful Christmas dinner setting. Instead, it felt like a courtroom where everyone was about to be cross-examined. Lisa had arranged the seating with Alex next to her, but I'd quietly switched the place cards while she was in the kitchen. Now Alex sat between Sophie and my brother Tom, while Lisa was directly across from Sophie with me beside her. This is lovely, Sophie said as we all took our seats. Your home is beautiful, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa managed, not meeting Sophie's eyes. My mother, bless her heart, tried to break the tension. So Alex, what kind of business are you in? I own a digital marketing company in Boston, Alex said, seeming grateful for the neutral topic. We help small businesses establish their online presence. How interesting, my father said. And how long have you known Lisa? We met in college. Must be 15 years now? 15 years, Sophie repeated thoughtfully. That's a long friendship. The best kind, Joyce said. Lisa's always been good at maintaining relationships. Yes, Sophie said, her eyes fixed on Lisa. Alex has told me how close you two are. He mentions you quite often. Lisa's fork clattered against her plate. We're old friends. We keep in touch. Keep in touch, Sophie mused. That's one way to put it. Tom, who had clearly picked up on the tension, decided to dive right in. So how long have you two been engaged? He asked Alex and Sophie. 6 months, Sophie said. Though lately I'm starting to wonder if Alex is having second thoughts. Alex nearly choked on his wine. Sophie, this isn't the time, isn't it? Sophie turned to face him fully. When is the time, Alex? When you're texting other women every day? When you're lying about your Christmas plans? When you're sneaking around behind my back? The table went dead silent. My parents looked mortified. Lisa's parents looked confused, and the kids had stopped eating to stare at the adults. I think there's been a misunderstanding, Lisa said weakly. Has there? Sophie pulled out her phone. Because I have some very interesting text messages here that suggest otherwise. Sophie, please, Alex said desperately, but Sophie was already reading from her phone. Missing you today. Can't wait for our Tuesday catch-up. You always know how to make me smile. That was Tuesday morning, Alex. While I was making you breakfast, you were texting another woman about missing her. Lisa's face was crimson. Those texts were taken out of context. Were they? Sophie scrolled through her phone. How about this one? Wish you were here with me tonight. Thinking about old times. Or this one. Can't wait to see you at Christmas. It's been too long since we've had real time together. Joyce gasped. Lisa, what is she talking about? Mom, it's not what it sounds like, isn't it? Sophie's voice was getting louder, because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like my fiancé is having an emotional affair with a married woman. Now wait just a minute, Frank said, standing up. I don't know what's going on here, but you can't come into our family's home and accuse our daughter. Of what? Sophie stood up too. Of texting my fiancé every single day? Of meeting him for secret coffee dates? Of making him lie to me about where he spends his time? They're just friends, Joyce protested. Friends don't send texts like this, Sophie said, holding up her phone again. I love you too. Always have, always will. That was sent last week, Mrs. Patterson. Does that sound like friendship to you? The room exploded. Joyce started crying. Frank started yelling at Alex. My parents sat in stunned silence, and Tom was trying to get his kids out of the room. This is insane, Lisa said, tears streaming down her face. Alex, tell them this is all a misunderstanding. But Alex was staring at his plate, saying nothing. Tell them, Lisa screamed. Alex finally looked up. I can't, Lisa, because it's not a misunderstanding. The silence that followed was deafening. What? Lisa whispered. I love you, Alex said quietly. I've loved you since college, and I never stopped. When you got married, I thought I could move on, but I couldn't. And when you started texting me every day, when we started meeting for coffee, when you told me you missed me too, I thought maybe we had a chance. Sophie sat down heavily. So it's true. Everything I suspected is true. Sophie, I'm sorry. Don't. Sophie held up her hand. Just don't. Lisa was sobbing now. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? I asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. I'd been silent through most of the confrontation, just watching my wife's carefully constructed lies fall apart. How was this supposed to happen, Lisa? I repeated. Were you planning to leave me? Were you just going to keep sneaking around indefinitely? What was the end game here? Michael, Because I've been watching you for weeks. The secret phone calls, the lies about working late, the way your whole face lights up when Alex texts you. Did you think I was stupid? No, Did you think I wouldn't notice that you've been emotionally checked out of our marriage for months? That you've been living for your Tuesday coffee dates and your daily text sessions with your ex-boyfriend? Lisa couldn't speak through her tears. And you, I said, turning to Alex. You knew she was married. You knew I existed, but you pursued her anyway. I love her, Alex said defensively. You love her? Then why didn't you fight for her 15 years ago? Why did you wait until she was married to decide you couldn't live without her? Alex had no answer for that. Sophie stood up and picked up her purse. I'm leaving. Alex, I'll pack your things and leave them with the building manager. Don't bother coming home. Sophie, wait. Wait for what? For you to decide whether you want me or her? I'm not going to be your backup plan while you chase your college girlfriend. She turned to me. Michael, thank you for inviting me. I'm sorry your Christmas was ruined, but I needed to know the truth. So did I said. Sophie walked out, and we heard the front door slam behind her. The dining room was in chaos. Joyce was crying, Frank was red-faced with anger, my parents looked like they wanted to disappear, and Tom was standing in the doorway with his kids, clearly unsure whether to stay or go. I think we should leave, my mother said quietly. No, I said. You shouldn't have to leave. This is our home, and you're our family. I looked at Alex. You should go. Lisa? Alex said, looking at my wife hopefully. Lisa was still crying, mascara running down her cheeks, looking between Alex and me with desperate confusion. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know what to do. Then let me make it easy for you, I said, standing up. Alex, get out of my house, now. You can't just... I can and I am. You've been having an emotional affair with my wife for months. You lied to your fiancé, and you've destroyed our family Christmas. Get out. Alex looked at Lisa one more time, but she was staring at her plate, unable to meet his eyes. Fine, he said, standing up. Lisa, call me when you're ready to talk. Don't hold your breath, I said. After Alex left, the house felt like a bomb had gone off. Our families sat in stunned silence while Lisa cried and I tried to process what had just happened. I think we should go, Frank said finally. Give you two some space to work this out. There's nothing to work out, I said. Lisa made her choice when she decided to have an affair. It wasn't an affair, Lisa said through her tears. We never slept together. Emotional affairs are still affairs, Lisa. You gave your heart to someone else. You shared intimate thoughts and feelings with another man. You lied to me every day for months. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. But sorry wasn't going to fix this. Sorry wasn't going to erase months of deception and betrayal. Sorry wasn't going to make me forget the way she'd looked at Alex, or the way she'd defended their friendship while carrying on an emotional affair behind my back. One by one, our families left, offering awkward hugs and promises to call later. Tom was the last to go, pulling me aside before he walked out the door. You okay, brother? No, I said honestly, but I will be. What are you going to do? I looked back at Lisa, who was still sitting at the dining room table, staring at the ruins of our Christmas dinner. I don't know yet, but whatever I do, she's not going to like it. The week between Christmas and New Year's was the longest of my life. Lisa and I barely spoke, moving around each other like ghosts in our own home. She slept in the guest room and left for work early each morning, avoiding me entirely. But I wasn't idle during those quiet days. I was planning. See, the thing about working in IT is that you learn to be methodical. You learn to document everything, to trace problems back to their source, and to fix things systematically. And I was about to apply those skills to my marriage. First, I needed evidence. Not for a divorce, though that was looking increasingly likely, but for my own peace of mind. I needed to know exactly how deep this betrayal went. Lisa had always been careless with technology. She used the same password for everything, left her laptop open around the house, and never bothered to log out of her social media accounts. It took me less than an hour to access her email, text messages, and social media accounts. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. The affair had been going on for 8 months, starting with innocent catching-up messages that gradually became more intimate. Lisa had been deleting most of their text conversations from her phone, but they were all backed up in her cloud storage. I read months of messages about missing each other, about regretting their breakup in college, about wondering what their lives would be like if they'd stayed together. There were photos they'd sent each other, nothing explicit, but intimate in their own way. Pictures of Lisa in the coffee shop where they met, selfies with captions like "Wish you were here," photos of sunsets with romantic quotes. But the worst part was reading about me through Lisa's eyes. She'd complained to Alex about our marriage, about how boring I was, about how she felt trapped in suburban life. She'd told him about our fights, our intimate moments, our private conversations. She'd shared details about our relationship that should have been sacred, turning them into ammunition for her emotional affair. There was one message that particularly stuck with me. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd followed you to Boston instead of moving here. I think about it more than I should. Alex's response: It's not too late, Elle. It's never too late for us. I printed out the most damning messages and saved copies of everything to a secure drive. Then I started phase 2 of my plan, research. I spent the next 2 days learning everything I could about Alex Morrison and his business. His company was successful, but not as stable as he'd made it seem. He'd been struggling with cash flow issues and had recently lost 2 major clients. His engagement to Sophie had been announced in the Boston Globe's society pages, Apparently, her family was well connected in pharmaceutical circles. More importantly, I found Alex's social media accounts and started documenting his posts about Lisa. Nothing explicit, but there were subtle references that painted a clear picture of their relationship. Photos of coffee cups with captions like, Tuesday motivation. Pictures of Hartford skyline with heart emojis. A post from Christmas Day that said, some gifts come in unexpected packages, with a photo of the wine bottle he'd brought to our dinner. On December 30th, Lisa finally tried to talk to me. Michael, she said, knocking on my home office door. Can we please discuss this like adults? I looked up from my computer, where I'd been organizing my evidence files. Sure, what would you like to discuss? She sat down across from my desk, looking tired and defeated. I know you're angry. Angry? I laughed. Lisa, angry doesn't begin to cover what I'm feeling right now. I never meant for this to happen. Which part? The 8-month emotional affair, the lies, the way you humiliated me in front of both our families? She flinched. It wasn't supposed to go that far. How far was it supposed to go? Were you planning to leave me for Alex? Or were you just going to keep stringing us both along indefinitely? I don't know, she whispered. I was confused. Confused about what? Whether you wanted to be married to me or not? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple, Lisa. You're either committed to our marriage or you're not. And for the past 8 months, you haven't been. She started crying again. I love you, Michael. I never stopped loving you. But you love him too. She couldn't deny it. So what do you want to do? I asked. Do you want to try to save our marriage? Do you want a divorce? Do you want to run away with Alex and live happily ever after in Boston? I want to fix this. I want us to work. Even though you're in love with someone else, I can get over Alex. I can cut contact with him completely. Can you? Because you've been saying he's just a friend for months while carrying on an emotional affair. Why should I believe you now? She didn't have an answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I said, leaning back in my chair. I'm going to take some time to think about whether I want to try to save this marriage, and you're going to give me space to do that. What does that mean? It means you're going to stay somewhere else for a while. Your parents' house, a hotel, wherever. But you're not staying here. Michael, this is my home too. Is it? Because for the past 8 months it seems like your heart has been in Boston. She stared at me for a long moment. How long? I don't know. A week, maybe 2. I need time to process this without you here confusing things. And then? And then I'll decide whether our marriage is worth saving. That night, Lisa packed a bag and went to stay with her parents. I had the house to myself for the first time in years, and I used the solitude to finalize my plans. Because the truth was, I'd already made my decision. Our marriage was over. Lisa had chosen Alex over me 8 months ago. Christmas dinner had just made it official. But I wasn't going to make it easy for them. If Lisa wanted to be with Alex, she was going to have to face the consequences of her choices. And if Alex thought he could steal another man's wife without repercussions, he was about to learn otherwise. I spent New Year's Eve alone, working on my computer and planning my revenge. At midnight, while the rest of the world was celebrating new beginnings, I was preparing to end my marriage in the most spectacular way possible. Phase 1 of my plan began on January 2nd, when Lisa's co-workers returned from their holiday break. I'd spent hours researching her company's employee handbook and social media policies, and I'd found exactly what I was looking for. Lisa worked for Patterson and Associates, a small advertising firm that prided itself on its family-friendly image and conservative client base. They represented several local churches, a family restaurant chain, and a children's clothing boutique. The company's employee handbook was very clear about conduct that could damage the firm's reputation. I created an anonymous email account and sent Lisa's boss, Richard Patterson, a carefully worded message with selected screenshots of her text conversations with Alex. Nothing too explicit, just enough to raise questions about her judgment and professionalism. I thought you should be aware that one of your employees has been conducting an inappropriate relationship with a client's competitor, I wrote. The attached messages were sent during work hours using company equipment. I'm concerned about the impact this could have on your firm's reputation if it becomes public knowledge. I didn't mention that Alex wasn't actually a client's competitor, but the messages were damaging enough on their own. Lisa texting about personal relationship drama during work hours, sharing intimate details about her marriage, making plans to meet her ex-boyfriend. It all painted a picture of an employee whose personal life was interfering with her professionalism. Phase 2 targeted Alex's business. I discovered that his biggest client was a conservative family restaurant chain that took their public image very seriously. I sent them copies of Alex's social media posts about his affair, along with a polite note expressing concern about their marketing company's ethics. I'm a loyal customer of your restaurants and have always appreciated your commitment to family values, I wrote. I was disturbed to discover that your marketing company's CEO has been publicly documenting his affair with a married woman on social media. I thought you should be aware of this before it becomes a larger public relations issue. Phase 3 was more personal. I created a comprehensive timeline of Lisa and Alex's affair, complete with screenshots, photos, and detailed explanations. Then I sent copies to everyone who mattered. Both sets of parents, our siblings, our close friends, and several of Lisa's co-workers who weren't bound by professional discretion. The subject line was simple: the truth about Lisa and Alex. I didn't editorialize or add commentary. I just presented the facts and let people draw their own conclusions. The evidence spoke for itself. Phase 4 was my masterpiece. I created a private Facebook group called Lisa's Lies and invited everyone who had been at our Christmas dinner, plus their spouses and close family members. Then I posted a detailed account of the entire affair, complete with evidence and a timeline. For those who witnessed the disaster at our Christmas dinner, I wrote, here's the full story you didn't get that day. My wife, Lisa, has been having an emotional affair with Alex Morrison for 8 months. She lied to me, to Alex's fiancé Sophie, and to all of you about the nature of their relationship. I thought you deserved to know the truth about what really happened and why our family gathering was destroyed. The response was immediate and overwhelming. My brother Tom was the first to comment. Holy shit, Mike. I knew something was off, but this is insane. My mother's response was more measured. I'm so sorry you've been going through this alone, sweetheart. We're here for you. Lisa's own sister posted, I can't believe Lisa would do this. I'm so embarrassed and angry right now. But the best response came from Sophie, who I'd added to the group as a courtesy. Michael, thank you for sharing this. I've been questioning my own judgment since Christmas, wondering if I overreacted. Now I know I didn't. I hope you're doing okay. Within hours, the Facebook group had dozens of comments from friends and family expressing shock, disappointment, and support for me. Several people shared their own suspicions about Lisa and Alex's relationship, adding details I hadn't known about. Lisa's college roommate posted, I always wondered why Lisa stayed so close to Alex after she got married. This explains a lot. A mutual friend wrote, I saw Lisa and Alex together at Starbucks last month and thought it was weird how intimate they seemed. Now I understand why. Even some of Alex's friends joined the group and shared their thoughts. Apparently, Alex had been talking about Lisa for months, describing her as the one who got away and complaining about his relationship with Sophie. By the end of the day, Lisa's phone was ringing constantly. Her parents, siblings, friends, and co-workers all wanted explanations for the evidence I'd shared. Alex was dealing with similar fallout, plus the potential loss of his biggest client. Lisa called me that evening, sobbing hysterically. How could you do this to me? She cried. You've ruined my life. I didn't ruin your life, Lisa. You did that yourself when you decided to have an affair. It wasn't an affair. We never slept together. We've been over this. Emotional affairs are still affairs. And now everyone knows the truth about what you did. You had no right to share our private business with everyone. I had every right. You humiliated me in front of our families. You lied to me for months. You destroyed our marriage for another man. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, and now you have to live with the results. Michael, please, take down the Facebook group, delete the messages. I'll do anything. Anything? Will you go back in time and not have an affair? Will you undo 8 months of lies and betrayal? Will you make me forget about finding love letters to another man on your phone? She couldn't stop crying long enough to answer. It's too late, Lisa. You made your choice. Now live with it. The next few days brought even more satisfaction. Lisa's boss called her into his office for a disciplinary meeting about her unprofessional conduct. Alex lost his biggest client and had to lay off 2 employees. Sophie changed her relationship status to single and posted a public message thanking her friends for their support during her difficult breakup. But the best part was watching Lisa and Alex's relationship crumble under the pressure. Without the secrecy and forbidden romance, their affair lost its appeal. Lisa was staying with her parents, who were furious with her. Alex was dealing with business problems and the social fallout from his broken engagement. They tried to make it work. Lisa moved to Boston for a week to stay with Alex, but she was back at her parents' house within days. Apparently, the reality of their relationship didn't live up to the fantasy they'd built through months of secret messages. Lisa called me again on January 15th. I made a mistake, she said. Alex and it's not working. It was never going to work. I could have told you that. I want to come home. I want to try to fix our marriage. There's nothing to fix, Lisa. Our marriage is over. Please, Michael, I love you. I choose you. You chose Alex. For 8 months, you chose Alex every single day. You don't get to change your mind now just because your affair didn't work out. It was a mistake. It was a choice. A series of choices made over months, and now you have to live with the consequences. What about forgiveness? What about second chances? What about trust? What about loyalty? What about the vows you broke? She started crying again. I can't undo what I did. No, you can't, and I can't forget it. I filed for divorce the next day. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. With all the evidence I'd gathered, Lisa's lawyer advised her not to fight me on the terms. She kept her car and her personal belongings, but I got the house, most of our savings, and the satisfaction of knowing that everyone in our social circle knew exactly why our marriage had ended. Lisa moved back in with her parents temporarily, then found a small apartment across town. Alex's business continued to struggle, and he eventually had to sell his company and take a job working for someone else. Sophie, meanwhile, seemed to be thriving. She'd been promoted at work and was dating a doctor she'd met through friends. I thought the story was over. I thought I'd gotten my revenge and could move on with my life. I was wrong. In late February, Lisa called me with news that changed everything. I'm pregnant, she said without preamble. I nearly dropped the phone. What? I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. My mind raced, doing the math. 8 weeks ago would have been right after Christmas, during the week she'd stayed at her parents' house. Is it mine? I asked. Of course it's yours. I never slept with Alex. But you were with him in Boston. We didn't have intimacy, Michael. I told you it was an emotional affair, not a physical one. I sat down heavily. A baby. After everything that had happened, Lisa was carrying my child. What do you want to do? I asked. I want to keep it, and I want us to try again, for the baby. Lisa, I know you hate me right now. I know I destroyed everything, but this baby is innocent. This baby deserves a family. The baby will have a family, we just won't be married. Please, Michael, one more chance, for our child. I stared at the divorce papers on my desk, already signed and ready to file. Everything in me wanted to say no, to tell Lisa that a baby didn't erase 8 months of betrayal. But the thought of my child growing up in a broken home, shuffling between parents, missing out on the family I'd always wanted. "I need time to think," I said. "How much time?" "I don't know. This changes everything." That night, I called Tom and explained the situation. "Jesus, Mike, what are you going to do?" "I have no idea. Part of me wants to try again for the baby's sake, but how do you rebuild trust after something like this?" "I don't know, man, but I do know that staying together just for a kid doesn't always work out. Look at Mom and Dad. They were miserable until Dad finally moved out when we were teenagers. But at least we had those years as a family." "Did we?" "Because I remember a lot of fighting and tension. I remember feeling like it was my fault they were unhappy." I thought about that conversation for days. Was I willing to sacrifice my own happiness for the chance to give my child an intact family? Was it fair to the baby to grow up in a home where the parents didn't trust each other? 2 weeks later, I made my decision. I called Lisa and asked her to meet me at the house, our house, which would soon be just my house. She arrived looking hopeful, her hand resting protectively on her still flat stomach. "Thank you for seeing me," she said. "We need to talk about the baby." "I know this is complicated." "It's not complicated, Lisa. It's actually very simple." She looked confused. "I'm going to be the best father I can be to this child," I said. "I'm going to love them unconditionally, support them financially and emotionally, and make sure they know they're wanted and valued." Relief flooded her face. "So we're going to try again?" "No, we're going to co-parent, but we're not getting back together." "Michael." "Lisa, you had an affair. You lied to me for months. You chose another man over our marriage. The fact that you're pregnant doesn't change any of that. But the baby needs a family. The baby will have a family. They'll have 2 parents who love them, even if those parents aren't married to each other." This isn't what I wanted. It's what you chose when you started texting Alex behind my back. Actions have consequences, Lisa, even when those consequences affect other people. She started crying, but I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. Too much had happened. Too much trust had been broken. "I'll pay child support," I continued. "I'll take the baby every other weekend and 1 night a week. I'll be involved in all major decisions about their upbringing. But you and I are done as a couple." "What if I hadn't gotten pregnant? Would you have taken me back then?" I thought about lying, about sparing her feelings, but she deserved the truth. "No," I said. "I would never have taken you back. The pregnancy doesn't change how I feel about what you did. It just means we'll be connected for the rest of our lives whether we want to be or not." Lisa left that day understanding that our marriage was truly over. The divorce was finalized in April, just before she started showing. We worked out a custody agreement that put the child's needs first, while acknowledging the reality of our situation. I sold the house and bought a smaller place with a nursery. Lisa found a 2-bedroom apartment in a good school district. We attended parenting classes together, awkward but civil, preparing for the child who would link us forever. Alex, meanwhile, had disappeared from our lives entirely. His business had failed. He'd moved back to his parents' house in Florida, and Lisa claimed she hadn't heard from him since their disastrous week together in Boston. "Do you ever regret it?" Lisa asked me during one of our parenting classes. "The way you exposed everything? The Facebook group, the messages to my boss, all of it?" I thought about her question seriously. "No," I said finally. "You made choices, and I made choices. You chose to have an affair, and I chose to make sure everyone knew the truth about it. It destroyed my reputation, my career, my relationships with friends and family. Your affair did that. I just documented it. You could have handled it privately." "I could have, but you didn't handle your feelings for Alex privately. You involved our families, our friends, our Christmas dinner. You made it public the moment you brought Alex into our lives." She didn't have an answer for that. Our daughter was born in October, a beautiful, healthy baby girl we named Emma. Despite everything that had happened between Lisa and me, holding our daughter for the first time was the most perfect moment of my life. Lisa was a good mother, and we managed to co-parent effectively. We attended Emma's doctor appointments together, split holidays, and made decisions jointly about her care. It wasn't the family I'd originally wanted, but it worked. 2 years later, I ran into Sophie at a coffee shop in Hartford. She was with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, kind-looking, wearing a wedding ring. "Michael," she said, seeming genuinely happy to see me. "How are you?" "I'm good, really good. This is my daughter Emma." "She's beautiful. How's fatherhood treating you?" "Best job I've ever had." Sophie introduced me to her husband, a pediatrician she'd married the previous fall. They seemed happy together, settled in a way that Lisa and Alex had never managed to be. "I heard Alex moved to Florida," Sophie said. "Yeah, after his business failed. I think he's working for his dad now." "And Lisa?" "She's doing okay. We co-parent Emma. It's functional." Sophie nodded. "I'm glad you're both doing well. And I'm glad Emma has 2 parents who put her first. What about you? Any regrets about how everything went down?" Sophie smiled. "None at all. That Christmas dinner was the best thing that ever happened to me. It showed me who Alex really was before I married him. I dodged a bullet." "So did I realized. As I watched Sophie walk away with her husband, I understood something I hadn't before. My revenge against Lisa and Alex hadn't just been about punishment, it had been about truth. Everyone involved deserved to know what was really happening, to make informed decisions about their lives and relationships. Sophie had deserved to know that her fiancé was in love with someone else before she married him. Our families had deserved to know why their Christmas dinner had turned into a disaster. Lisa's employers had deserved to know that she was conducting personal business on company time. I hadn't destroyed Lisa's life out of spite. I'd revealed the truth about choices she'd already made. The consequences were hers to bear, not mine to hide. That night, I put Emma to bed in her nursery, reading her favorite story about a little bear who learns that actions have consequences. As she fell asleep in my arms, I realized that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. My marriage to Lisa was over, but my life wasn't. I had a daughter who loved me unconditionally, a career that challenged me, and the self-respect that comes from standing up for yourself when someone you trusted betrays you. Lisa had chosen Alex over our marriage, and I had chosen truth over comfortable lies. In the end, we'd both gotten exactly what we deserved. Emma stirred in her sleep, and I kissed her forehead gently. "Sweet dreams, baby girl."